In the heart of the Philippines, where sun-kissed beaches meet vibrant street markets, a popular tourist destination buzzes with life. The air is filled with the sounds of laughter, the sizzling of local delicacies being cooked to perfection, and the gentle hum of conversations in a medley of languages. This is a place where cultures collide and blend, creating an atmosphere that is both inviting and rich with diversity. Tourists from all corners of the globe flock here, eager to experience the warmth of Filipino hospitality and immerse themselves in the island's natural beauty. Picture a charming seaside restaurant, its wooden beams adorned with colorful local artwork, where locals and tourists gather to savor traditional dishes like adobo and sinigang. The waitstaff, a mix of enthusiastic locals, navigate the bustling space with ease, serving plates piled high with fresh seafood and tropical fruits. Among them is a young Filipina waitress named Maria. With her bright smile and graceful demeanor, she embodies the spirit of her homeland. Maria has worked in this restaurant for several years, mastering not only the menu but also the art of engaging with customers from different backgrounds. She takes pride in her ability to converse in English, having learned it in school and polished her skills through countless interactions with tourists. Her experience has given her a unique insight into the varied expectations that travelers bring to this picturesque locale. However, beneath the surface of this idyllic setting lies a complex web of cultural dynamics that can often lead to misunderstandings. Many tourists arrive with preconceived notions about the Philippines and its people. Some may harbor stereotypes about language proficiency or intelligence, assuming that because they are in a developing country, the locals may not possess strong communication skills or education. These assumptions can lead to condescending attitudes or even outright rudeness. As visitors bustle about, snapping photos of sunsets and savoring fruity cocktails, they often forget that they are surrounded by individuals who embody rich histories and diverse capabilities. Maria stands at the center of this interplay. She has witnessed firsthand how some tourists interact with her fellow staff members and how their perceptions can shape their experiences. The vibrant atmosphere of the restaurant can quickly shift when faced with rudeness or disrespect. Maria has seen it before, tourists who dismiss her colleagues simply because they think they won't understand them. They might speak loudly or slowly as if that would somehow translate into better comprehension. In those moments, Maria feels a pang of frustration for her coworkers who are just as qualified as anyone else, but are unfairly judged based on superficial assumptions. One afternoon, as Maria serves a table filled with tourists who exude an air of entitlement, she senses an undercurrent of disdain in their voices. They laugh among themselves while making comments about the local language, jokes filled with ignorance wrapped in arrogance. Maria's heart sinks as she overhears their remarks. She knows that her colleagues are listening too. It's moments like these that remind her how crucial it is to challenge stereotypes, not just for herself but for everyone who shares her culture. While she remains composed on the surface, inside she grapples with conflicting emotions. Pride in her heritage and frustration at the lack of respect shown by those who don't see beyond their biases. The vibrant colors of the restaurant around her seem muted against this backdrop of insensitivity. Yet amidst these challenges lies an opportunity, a chance to redefine perceptions through her own actions. Maria understands that she possesses an invaluable asset, her ability to communicate flawlessly in English. She knows that she can turn this situation on its head, but it requires careful consideration and timing. As she navigates between tables, serving drinks, taking orders, she keeps an eye on the rude group. They continue their banter, oblivious to how their words affect those around them. But Maria remains resolute. She won't let their arrogance dictate how she feels about herself or her work. In this vibrant setting full of life and potential connections, Maria embodies resilience, a testament to the spirit of Filipinos everywhere who strive to engage positively despite facing adversity. The restaurant serves not only as a backdrop for culinary delights, but also as a stage for cultural exchange and growth. As we delve deeper into this story, we will witness how one Filipina waitress rises above rudeness to confront ignorance head-on, and what unfolds will challenge not just expectations, but also perceptions about language, culture, and respect in an increasingly interconnected world. Through Maria's journey, we'll uncover the beauty behind unexpected reactions and discover how understanding often begins when we least expect it. Maria, the Filipina waitress at the bustling seaside restaurant, is a vibrant young woman in her mid-20s. Born and raised in a modest town not far from the coast, she has always held a deep appreciation for her culture and the beauty of her homeland. Growing up in a close-knit family, Maria was instilled with values of hard work, respect, and the importance of education. Her parents, both teachers, emphasized the significance of learning and encouraged her to pursue her dreams relentlessly. From a young age, Maria showed an affinity for languages. She would often listen intently to tourists who visited her town, captivated by their stories and experiences. Inspired by their adventures, she took it upon herself to learn English. Her dedication was evident as she spent countless hours practicing vocabulary and pronunciation with her parents and friends. She even sought out opportunities to converse with travelers whenever she could, absorbing every word and phrase like a sponge. After finishing high school, Maria decided to pursue a degree in hospitality management at a local university. She believed that this path would not only enhance her language skills, but also provide her with the tools necessary to excel in the service industry. Throughout her college years, she balanced her studies with part-time jobs, gaining valuable experience serving customers and mastering the art of hospitality. Now, as she stands behind the bar at the restaurant, Maria feels a sense of pride in what she has accomplished. Her fluency in English sets her apart from many of her peers, and she embraces every opportunity to showcase her skills. She has developed a natural ability to connect with customers from diverse backgrounds, making them feel welcome and valued. Her warm smile and friendly demeanor are infectious, drawing people in and creating an inviting atmosphere. Maria's experience in the service industry spans over 5 years. She began as a busser at a small cafe before moving on to become a server at the restaurant where she currently works. Each role taught her something new: how to anticipate customer needs, how to manage difficult situations with grace, and most importantly, how to communicate effectively across cultural barriers. Her commitment to excellence has not gone unnoticed by her managers or fellow staff members. They often commend her for her professionalism and ability to handle high-pressure situations with ease. Maria takes pride in being a role model for newer employees, sharing tips on customer service while encouraging them to develop their own language skills. She knows that every interaction is an opportunity to break down stereotypes and showcase the diverse talents within their community. Despite facing occasional challenges due to misconceptions about Filipinos and their capabilities, Maria remains steadfast in her belief that kindness and understanding can bridge gaps between cultures. She often reflects on how language can serve as both a barrier and a bridge. While some may underestimate others based on their accents or fluency levels, she understands that true communication goes beyond mere words. Maria's confidence in her English proficiency is rooted not only in formal education, but also in real-world experiences. She recalls countless moments when tourists have expressed surprise upon realizing she speaks perfect English, moments that have turned awkward encounters into meaningful exchanges. For Maria, those instances reaffirm her commitment to breaking down preconceived notions surrounding language barriers. In addition to honing her language skills through practice, Maria actively seeks opportunities for self-improvement. She attends workshops focused on communication techniques and participates in community events that encourage cultural exchange. By immersing herself in different environments and engaging with people from various walks of life, she continuously learns how to adapt her communication style while remaining authentic. However, Maria's journey hasn't been without its hurdles. There have been days filled with frustration when rude customers have dismissed her because of their own biases. Those moments sting deeply. They remind her that despite all her hard work and dedication, some individuals choose to see only what they want, a narrow view shaped by stereotypes rather than reality. Yet through these experiences, Maria remains resilient. She channels any negativity into motivation, an unwavering determination to prove that language proficiency does not define one's worth or capability. With every encounter she faces at work, Whether positive or challenging, she becomes more resolute in demonstrating that respect should be given freely regardless of preconceived notions. As we delve deeper into this story of unexpected reactions and cultural exchanges, we will see how Maria's background shapes her interactions with others. A young woman proud of her heritage who stands ready to confront ignorance head-on while shining light on the beauty of connection through language. Her journey is not just about navigating rudeness. It's about celebrating diversity and understanding that true connection transcends borders and expectations. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a warm glow over the restaurant as the lunchtime rush began to dwindle. The sounds of laughter and clinking glasses filled the air, creating a lively backdrop that was typical of this popular tourist spot. Maria was busy organizing her tables when she noticed a group of 4 tourists approaching. Their loud voices and boisterous laughter cut through the atmosphere, a prelude to what would soon unfold. As they stepped inside, Maria caught sight of their matching t-shirts emblazoned with slogans from their home country. They were clearly eager to indulge in the local cuisine, but their demeanor suggested an air of superiority. Maria greeted them warmly, her smile unwavering despite sensing an underlying tension. "Welcome, how many are in your party?" she asked, her voice cheerful and inviting. One of the men in the group, a tall figure with an ostentatious hat, sneered slightly before responding. "Just us 4, he said dismissively, waving his hand as if brushing her off. "We'll take a table outside." As Maria led them to a table overlooking the sparkling ocean, she could feel the weight of their gaze on her. They exchanged glances among themselves, chuckling quietly. She assumed they were making jokes about her or how she was dressed, simple attire that reflected her hardworking lifestyle rather than any tourist flair. Once seated, the group continued their mocking behavior. As they skimmed through the menu, one of the women leaned back in her chair and scoffed loudly. "I hope they speak decent English here," she remarked, her tone dripping with condescension. "Last time I was in a place like this, it was impossible to get anything right. You'd think they'd at least learn some basic phrases." Maria's heart sank at those words, but she maintained her composure. She took their drink orders while keeping her head high. She refused to let their arrogance affect her professionalism. However, as she walked away to fetch their drinks, she couldn't shake off the feeling of frustration that began to bubble beneath her calm exterior. Returning shortly with their beverages, a refreshing mix of local fruit juices, Maria overheard more derogatory comments as she approached their table again. "Look at these locals, they probably don't even know how to pronounce half of what's on this menu," another man said loudly enough for her to hear. Maria paused for a moment before placing the drinks down, taking a deep breath to steady herself. The dismissive remark stung deeply. They seemed utterly oblivious to the effort and dedication that many locals poured into mastering English, an essential skill in this tourism-driven economy. Trying to maintain professionalism, Maria smiled and responded with genuine warmth. "If you have any questions about the menu or need recommendations, I'd be happy to help," she said. The tourists exchanged amused glances and burst out laughing again, this time at her offer. "Oh, really? You think you can actually help us?" one of them mocked, leaning back in his chair as if he were posing for a photo op. "What do you know about fine dining?" In that moment, Maria felt a wave of indignation wash over her. She had encountered rude customers before, but rarely had they been so openly disdainful. It was as if they saw themselves as superior simply because they were foreigners enjoying a vacation while assuming she was just another uneducated local. "Actually," Maria began, choosing her words carefully to avoid escalating tensions further, "I've worked here for several years and know our dishes very well." Her tone remained calm but firm. It was important for her not to back down. But instead of acknowledging her experience or listening to what she had to say, one woman interjected, "We're just having some fun, don't take it personally." Her casual dismissal of Maria's feelings only fueled the fire within. As Maria walked away from the table once more, she felt heavy-hearted yet determined. This encounter was not just an isolated incident. It represented a broader issue that permeated interactions between locals and tourists. A disconnect that stemmed from ignorance and preconceived notions about language and culture. She stepped into the kitchen briefly to collect herself before returning to serve their meals. Maria knew that maintaining her professionalism was essential. After all, she wanted to provide every customer with excellent service regardless of how they treated her. Yet deep down, she felt an urge building inside her, a desire not only to confront their rudeness but also to challenge their perceptions head-on. The thought circled in her mind. What if they realized that not only did she understand English perfectly, but that she could articulate herself fluently too? With each passing moment at their table filled with laughter and condescension toward locals like herself, Maria resolved that this would not be just another day at work filled with silent acceptance of disrespectful behavior. It would be an opportunity, a chance for empowerment and self-assertion amidst ignorance. As she gathered herself for what lay ahead, Maria reminded herself that true strength often shines brightest during moments of adversity, and perhaps today would be one of those defining moments in her journey. As Maria navigated the bustling restaurant, she couldn't shake off the feeling of discomfort brought on by the rude tourists. Their laughter and dismissive comments echoed in her mind, revealing a deeper issue rooted in their preconceived notions about Filipinos. To them, she wasn't just a waitress. She was a representation of a stereotype that painted locals as less educated or unrefined. The group's attitudes reflected common misconceptions held by many tourists. They had arrived with a sense of entitlement, assuming that their nationality conferred them a superior status. In their eyes, Filipinos were often viewed through a narrow lens, one that emphasized service roles without recognizing the depth of knowledge and skills that individuals like Maria possessed. Stereotypes regarding language proficiency loomed large in their interactions. Many travelers held the belief that English skills among Filipinos were limited at best. This assumption stemmed from various sources: media portrayals, anecdotal experiences, and sometimes even misguided generalizations based on past trips. The tourists likely expected to encounter locals who struggled to communicate, making it easy for them to dismiss Maria's contributions as inferior. As they sat at their table, sipping on drinks and perusing the menu, they reveled in their own superiority. They joked openly about how they, referring to locals, often mispronounced words or failed to understand complex requests. Such comments reinforced their belief that they were somehow more cultured or educated. The woman who had remarked about the locals' English skills embodied this mindset perfectly. Her tone suggested that she believed herself to be an authority on language and culture simply because she had traveled abroad. While some tourists arrive with genuine curiosity and respect for different cultures, others seem to carry an air of condescension, thinking they possess knowledge that elevates them above those they encounter. This attitude can manifest in various forms, from patronizing conversations to outright mockery, and creates a chasm between visitors and locals. In this case, Maria found herself caught in the crossfire of such misconceptions. The tourists' dismissive chatter revealed not only their expectations about language, but also broader stereotypes regarding intelligence and capability. They seem to equate being Filipino with being less capable or knowledgeable, an unfair generalization rooted in ignorance. Maria felt the weight of these assumptions, not just as a personal affront but as an indictment of her entire community. As she moved around the restaurant, serving other tables and interacting with different customers, Maria observed how varied people's perceptions could be. Some tourists approached her with genuine interest and respect, eager to learn about local dishes or engage in friendly conversation. These patrons saw her as an individual rather than a stereotype. They appreciated her insights and valued her recommendations. Yet for others like the group seated outside, preconceived notions overshadowed any chance for meaningful connection. Their expectations shaped the narrative they created about her and her colleagues, even before any interaction took place. They assumed that because she was Filipino, she would adhere to their beliefs about what a local should or shouldn't know. Maria understood that such stereotypes often stemmed from a lack of exposure. Many travelers led insulated lives where they rarely encountered cultures outside their own. As these tourists roamed foreign lands, perhaps they unconsciously clung to familiar narratives that allowed them to feel more comfortable in unfamiliar settings. However, Maria also recognized how damaging these perceptions could be, not only for individuals like herself, but for entire communities striving to break free from limiting beliefs. She knew firsthand the effort required to excel in both language and hospitality, a journey marked by countless hours of practice, education, and dedication. Even as she continued her work amidst the noise of dismissive laughter and condescending remarks, she felt a surge of determination within her. The tourists' expectations might have initially defined their interactions with her, but Maria was determined to redefine those expectations through her actions. With each polite smile and every carefully articulated response, she aimed to challenge their beliefs that Filipinos lacked competence or intelligence, and demonstrate instead the richness of her culture and capabilities. As if preparing for an unspoken confrontation, Maria steeled herself against the tide of assumptions washing over her. In that moment, and throughout her journey within the restaurant, Maria stood poised not just as a waitress but as an ambassador of her culture. She embodied resilience against prejudice while reminding herself that true understanding comes when one is willing to look beyond surface-level stereotypes. As the incident unfolded around her, Maria knew it would be crucial not only for herself, but for all those who faced similar assumptions daily. Her experience would serve as a reminder. While preconceived expectations might shape initial encounters, it is individual actions, how one responds, that can ultimately reshape perceptions and foster understanding across cultural divides. As the rude comments from the tourists continued to echo in her mind, Maria stood at the edge of the bustling restaurant, taking a moment to collect herself. The laughter and mockery from the group outside felt like a sharp sting, yet she was determined not to let it show. Her years in the service industry had taught her the importance of maintaining composure, especially in challenging situations. With a deep breath, she reminded herself of her purpose: to provide every guest with excellent service, regardless of their attitude. Maria had always approached her job with dedication and pride, understanding that each interaction was an opportunity to showcase her skills and hospitality. She felt a sense of responsibility not only to uphold her own standards, but also to represent her culture with grace. Walking back to the group's table, Maria plastered on a warm smile that masked any lingering hurt. "Is there anything else I can get for you?" she asked brightly, hopping to shift the focus away from their earlier comments. Yet as she approached, she could see their smirks and hear their snickers, a stark reminder of their dismissive attitudes. Instead of retaliating or allowing frustration to cloud her judgment, Maria chose a different path. She understood that responding with anger would only escalate the situation and reinforce their misguided beliefs about Filipinos. Instead, she clung to her professionalism like a shield against their rudeness. "Everything is great so far," the man with the ostentatious hat said sarcastically. "Just keep the drinks coming, we wouldn't want you to forget your place." His words dripped with condescension, but Maria maintained her composure. "Absolutely, I'll be right back," she replied, keeping her tone cheerful as she turned away from their table. Inside, however, she felt a whirlwind of emotions: frustration, sadness, and even anger at how easily they dismissed her worth based solely on stereotypes. As she moved about the restaurant, Maria focused on her other tables. Engaging with customers who appreciated her efforts provided a welcome distraction from the negativity that permeated her interactions with the tourists. With every smile exchanged and every compliment received from more respectful patrons, she felt reinvigorated in her mission. Yet the incident lingered in her thoughts. Maria knew that while it was important to remain composed in front of rude guests, it was equally important to stand up for herself when necessary. She wanted these tourists to recognize that being Filipino did not equate to being less capable. In fact, it meant being resilient, proud, and multifaceted. Later in her shift, as fate would have it, Maria found herself once again face to face with the group of tourists who had been so dismissive earlier. They were finishing up their meals when one of them called out for more condiments, a request that seemed trivial given how they had treated her just hours before. With an unwavering smile, Maria approached their table once more. "Here are your extra sauces," she said evenly as she placed them down before them. "Is there anything else I can assist you with?" The woman who had first made derogatory comments looked up at Maria with an expression that teetered between surprise and embarrassment. For a fleeting moment, Maria noticed hesitation in their eyes. Perhaps they were beginning to comprehend just how inappropriate their behavior had been. "Oh no," came the hesitant response from one of the men as he glanced at his friends for support. "We're all good here." Their demeanor had shifted slightly, though it didn't erase the earlier mockery or dismissiveness they had shown. But Maria saw this change as an opportunity. Perhaps they were beginning to realize that she was not just a service worker but an individual deserving of respect. Instead of dwelling on past insults or seeking revenge through sharp words or actions, she resolved to educate them subtly through kindness and competence. "Thank you for dining with us. If you need recommendations for local attractions or more information about our dishes," she said brightly, "I'd be more than happy to help." The tourists exchanged glances again, this time less brash and more contemplative. Maria could sense a shift. Perhaps they were starting to reevaluate their perceptions. As she turned away from their table for what felt like the 100th time that day, Maria felt a swell of pride within her. She had not allowed their rudeness to dictate how she viewed herself or how she interacted with others. Instead of retaliating or lashing out in anger, actions that might have given momentary satisfaction, she chose resilience and grace. In moments like these, Maria understood that true strength lies not only in standing up for oneself, but also in choosing how one responds to adversity. By remaining composed despite insults and demonstrating unwavering dedication to her job, she was challenging their expectations head-on without uttering a single harsh word. As she moved through the restaurant floor once more, serving plates filled with culinary delights and engaging warmly with other guests, Maria felt empowered by her choice to take the high road. She knew that every customer interaction mattered. Sometimes it was not about immediate confrontation, but rather about planting seeds of understanding through patience and persistence. Little did those tourists know that beneath Maria's composed exterior lay immense strength, a strength rooted in pride for her heritage and determination to challenge ignorance through compassion rather than conflict. The afternoon sun cast a warm glow over the restaurant as the tourists continued to enjoy their meals, seemingly oblivious to the tension they had created earlier. Maria moved gracefully among the tables, her heart steady despite the remnants of their rude comments still echoing in her mind. She had been determined to maintain her professionalism, but she also felt a growing desire to address their ignorance in a way that would leave a lasting impression. It was during one of her rounds when the pivotal moment unfolded. As she approached their table once more, her mind was clear and her resolve was strong. They were finishing up their meals and she could hear snippets of their conversation, still mocking, still dismissive. "Can you believe we're served by someone who probably doesn't even understand us?" One of them laughed loudly. Maria took a deep breath as she reached their table, setting down the check with a calm demeanor. "Here's your check," she said, maintaining her bright smile despite the sting of their words. "Thank you for dining with us today. If you have any questions about the bill or need anything else, feel free to ask." For a brief moment, there was silence at the table. The tourists looked at one another, momentarily taken aback by her unwavering composure. Then, as if on cue, the same man who had made demeaning comments earlier leaned back in his chair and scoffed again. "You sure you want to be working here? You could probably do so much better," he said condescendingly. In that instant, something shifted within Maria. The insults had been relentless, but she realized now that it was time to reveal her true capabilities, not with anger or indignation, but with calm confidence. This was her moment to turn the tables. "Actually," she began, choosing her words deliberately, "I'm quite happy working here. I take pride in my job and in serving our guests well." She paused for effect, watching their expressions carefully as they prepared for another round of mockery. Then came her revelation. "And just so you know," she continued, her voice steady and clear, "I speak perfect English." With that statement hanging in the air, Maria switched seamlessly into flawless English, articulate and confident, addressing them directly without any hint of an accent that might have led them to underestimate her skills. The transformation was immediate and palpable. The group fell silent again, their laughter replaced with disbelief. Their eyes widened as they processed what she had just said. It was as if a veil had been lifted. Suddenly, they were confronted not just with a waitress, but with an individual who defied every stereotype they had so readily imposed upon her. "Wait, what?" stammered one of the women at the table, clearly struggling to reconcile this new information with their preconceived notions. "You mean you've understood everything we've said?" Maria maintained eye contact with them, feeling empowered by their surprise. "Yes," she affirmed calmly. "I've heard everything, and it's interesting how assumptions can shape our perceptions." There was a brief pause as they absorbed this revelation. The man who had initially mocked her now seemed at a loss for words. His bravado shrank beneath the weight of realization that he had misjudged not only Maria but also countless others like her. "I'm sorry if we offended you," he managed weakly after a moment, his tone shifting from arrogance to discomfort as he began to grasp the implications of his previous comments. Maria smiled softly, but did not let it go unnoticed that their sudden humility was spurred by their own embarrassment rather than genuine remorse. "It's okay," she replied graciously but firmly. "But it's important to remember that everyone has unique strengths and experiences, regardless of where they come from." The remaining tourists exchanged glances filled with uncertainty and guilt mixed with astonishment. Maria could sense that they were beginning to reevaluate their perspectives not only about her but possibly about all Filipinos, a shift that could lead them toward greater understanding. As Maria walked away from the table feeling triumphant yet composed, she felt buoyed by this unexpected shift in dynamics. No longer were they simply rude tourists. Now they were confronted with the reality that language barriers were often self-imposed by ignorance rather than inherent limitations. This defining moment had not only surprised them but had also empowered Maria in ways she hadn't anticipated. By calmly asserting herself and showcasing her abilities without aggression or hostility, she had challenged their assumptions and opened the door for reflection. As she resumed her duties throughout the bustling restaurant floor, Maria felt invigorated, not just by this encounter, but by the knowledge that sometimes confronting ignorance requires patience and poise rather than confrontation. Today marked not just a victory over rudeness, but also an opportunity to educate others through understanding and respect. In navigating this pivotal moment with grace and confidence, Maria exemplified how powerful it can be to break down barriers, not through anger or retaliation, but through eloquence and self-assuredness. Every smile she shared and every kind word became a testament to resilience, a reminder that true strength lies in embracing one's identity while challenging stereotypes head-on. As Maria walked away from the tourists' table, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The initial shock hung in the air like a thick fog, enveloping the group in an uncomfortable silence. The sounds of laughter and casual banter faded, replaced by the weight of their own realizations. For a moment they sat there, staring at each other as if trying to process what had just occurred. "What just happened?" One of the women finally broke the silence, her voice barely above a whisper. Her expression was a mixture of disbelief and embarrassment. It was clear that she was grappling with the implications of Maria's revelation. "I thought she didn't understand us," muttered the man who had been the most vocal in his derision. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his bravado replaced by a palpable unease. I mean, come on, she's just a waitress." The others nodded slowly, their earlier arrogance crumbling under the weight of their own ignorance. It was as if they had just been confronted with a mirror reflecting their biases back at them, and they were struggling to look away. The realization that someone they had dismissed so easily was not only fluent in English, but also capable of articulating her thoughts clearly challenged everything they had assumed about her. "Did we really underestimate her like that?" Another woman asked incredulously, her tone now tinged with guilt. "I can't believe we made those comments." "I mean, it's not just her," added the first man, attempting to piece together his thoughts while still processing his embarrassment. "We've done this before with other locals, thinking they couldn't understand us. It's so wrong." The dawning realization settled over them like an unwelcome shadow as they began to reflect on their prejudices. They had arrived on vacation with a sense of superiority, believing that their experiences and education placed them above those who lived and worked in this beautiful destination. Yet here was Maria, a representative of a culture rich in history and intelligence, shattering those misconceptions right before their eyes. Maybe we should have asked her more about herself instead of making jokes, the woman said quietly, her tone shifting from shock to regret. I feel terrible for how we treated her. The group fell into an uneasy silence again as they each absorbed the implications of their behavior. Their laughter and careless comments now felt like echoes from a different world, one where ignorance overshadowed understanding. While they sat there grappling with their embarrassment, Maria continued with her duties throughout the restaurant, unaware of the internal conflict unfolding at their table. For her part, she felt a renewed sense of purpose, a small victory against ignorance that could potentially lead to greater awareness. Back at the tourists' table, one man finally broke the silence again. Look, we need to apologize to her, he said firmly. This isn't okay, we can't walk away from this thinking it's acceptable. His words sparked a flicker of agreement among them as they collectively recognized that acknowledging their mistake was crucial, not just for Maria but for themselves as well. They understood that change begins with acknowledgement and accountability. As Maria returned to check on them once more, she sensed the shift in energy around their table. This time when she approached, there were no sneers or mockery, only an air of sincerity and humility. Excuse me, the same man who had been dismissive earlier began tentatively, looking directly at Maria. We wanted to say we're really sorry for how we spoke earlier. It was disrespectful and ignorant, and we didn't mean to offend you. Maria paused for a moment, surprised by this unexpected turn. She noticed how vulnerable they seemed now, unlike moments before when they had felt untouchable behind their privileged facade. I appreciate that, she replied softly but firmly. It's important to recognize that everyone deserves respect regardless of where they come from or what job they hold. As she spoke, she could see guilt wash over their faces, a mixture of shame and newfound understanding reflected in their expressions. Thank you for saying that, one of the women added earnestly. We truly didn't mean any harm, we just didn't think. Maria nodded knowingly. She understood that sometimes people needed a gentle push to confront their biases head-on. It was through moments like these that awareness could blossom into empathy. As she moved away from their table once more, Maria felt lighter, her heart buoyed by this unexpected shift in dynamics. While it would take time for these tourists to fully grasp all that they had learned today, she felt hopeful that this encounter might be a stepping stone toward greater understanding between cultures. The tourists may have arrived expecting one thing but left with an entirely different perspective. A reminder that beneath every stereotype lies an individual deserving recognition and respect. In challenging their assumptions without confrontation, Maria had not only surprised them, but also opened their eyes to new possibilities for connection and change. And as she continued her shift among other guests in the restaurant, Maria carried within her a quiet strength, a belief that every interaction holds the potential for growth and understanding if approached with kindness and courage. The incident at the restaurant served as a microcosm of broader cultural dynamics, shining a light on the pervasive issues of respect, sensitivity, and the often unrecognized capabilities of individuals within various cultural contexts. Maria's experience with the rude tourists not only highlighted her personal resilience, but also illustrated a critical moment for reflection, one that transcended her situation and spoke to a larger societal issue. At the heart of this encounter was the concept of cultural sensitivity. The tourist had arrived with certain expectations shaped by their upbringing and experiences. They had approached their visit to the Philippines with preconceived notions about what it meant to be Filipino, often relying on stereotypes that painted locals in a one-dimensional light, an oversimplification that ignored the rich tapestry of experiences and capabilities present within the community. The laughter and mockery they exhibited were rooted not in malice, but in ignorance. They were unaware of how their words could perpetuate harmful beliefs. Maria's calm response to their insults became a powerful lesson in the importance of recognizing and challenging these stereotypes. Her ability to articulate herself fluently in English surprised the tourists, forcing them to confront their biases head-on. This moment was not just about her. It was about dismantling assumptions that limit understanding and appreciation for cultural diversity. Respect is a cornerstone of meaningful cross-cultural interactions. When people travel, they must approach new environments with an open mind, ready to learn rather than judge. The tourists' initial dismissiveness reflected a lack of respect not only for Maria as an individual, but also for the culture she represented. By recognizing her capabilities and treating her as an equal, they had failed to honor the very essence of what makes cultural exchange enriching. The impact of such attitudes extends beyond individual interactions. It shapes perceptions that can influence entire communities. When travelers view locals through a lens of superiority, they inadvertently contribute to a cycle of disrespect that can lead to further misunderstandings and hostility. Conversely, when individuals like Maria stand up for themselves and assert their worth, it opens doors for dialogue and reconciliation, a crucial step toward fostering mutual respect. This incident also underscores the importance of acknowledging individual capabilities beyond preconceived notions. Maria's proficiency in English was not merely an exception. It was a reflection of countless Filipinos who are educated, skilled, and capable, individuals who often go unnoticed because of limiting stereotypes. The narrative surrounding Filipinos often focuses on service roles or economic challenges, overlooking the depth of talent and intelligence present in many communities. As she served other customers throughout her shift, Maria became aware of how many visitors approached her with genuine curiosity about her culture and experiences. These interactions showcased how powerful open-mindedness can be, allowing for connections that enrich both parties involved. Every encounter held potential. Each conversation could bridge gaps formed by misunderstanding or ignorance. Furthermore, Maria's experience exemplifies how one person's reaction can ripple outward to affect change in others' perspectives. By choosing to respond with grace rather than anger, she not only stood up for herself, but also provided a learning opportunity for those who had wronged her. The tourists left with more than just an appetizing meal. They departed with a newfound awareness that could alter the way they engage with cultures different from their own in future travels. In reflecting on this incident, we are reminded that cultural sensitivity begins with acknowledging our own biases, recognizing that everyone we meet carries unique stories shaped by their backgrounds. It encourages us to engage actively rather than passively observe when we find ourselves in unfamiliar environments. By taking steps toward understanding rather than judgment, we cultivate respect across cultures. The implications extend beyond tourism. They resonate within our daily lives, reminding us that every interaction is an opportunity to challenge stereotypes and foster inclusivity. Maria's story serves as a beacon for individuals everywhere. We all have the capacity to break down barriers through kindness, patience, and respectful engagement. As we navigate our increasingly interconnected world, let us embrace the lessons learned from this encounter. The importance of treating others with dignity, recognizing individual strengths beyond stereotypes, and fostering empathy across cultural divides. In doing so, we create spaces where understanding flourishes, and where every person is seen not through the filter of assumptions, but through the richness of their unique identity. In moments like these, when preconceived notions are challenged and respect takes center stage, we find hope for a future filled with connection, a future where cultural sensitivity becomes second nature rather than an afterthought. Through actions big and small, each one of us has the power to contribute positively toward dismantling biases and building bridges between diverse communities. In the moments following the revelation at the tourists' table, a palpable shift occurred not only in their attitudes but also in Maria's perspective on her own strength and resilience. She continued her shift, attending to other customers while occasionally casting a glance at the group. It was clear they were in a state of reflection. Their earlier bravado had been replaced by an uncomfortable awareness of their own biases. After finishing their meals, the tourists gathered their belongings and prepared to leave. As they passed Maria on their way out, the man who had initially mocked her stepped forward, His expression was earnest, stripped of the arrogance he had exhibited earlier. "Hey," he said, his voice low but steady. "I just wanted to say that I'm really sorry for how we acted earlier. We were completely out of line." Maria met his gaze, surprised yet encouraged by his humility. "Thank you for saying that," she replied, her tone sincere. "It means a lot. I appreciate your willingness to acknowledge it." One by one, the others in the group followed suit, each offering their own apologies. The woman who had made the most dismissive comments nodded, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "I feel terrible for what I said," she admitted softly. "I didn't mean to offend you. I've learned my lesson today." As they expressed their regrets, Maria felt a wave of empowerment wash over her. This encounter had transcended mere rudeness. It had sparked an important dialogue about respect and understanding across cultures. She realized that her calm demeanor and choice to respond with grace had not only challenged their assumptions but also opened a door for genuine reflection. "Thank you all for your apologies," she said earnestly, her smile warm and inviting. "We all make mistakes. What matters is how we learn from them." The group nodded appreciatively, and Maria could sense that this moment held significance for them, a turning point that might redefine how they approached interactions with locals in the future. After they left, Maria took a moment to breathe deeply, letting the weight of the encounter settle into something more uplifting. She felt proud of herself, not just for standing up against rudeness, but for being a catalyst for change. The experience had reinforced her belief that kindness and patience could reshape perceptions and foster connection where there had once been ignorance. As she returned to her duties, Maria noticed other customers who had observed the interaction looking at her with newfound respect. Conversations buzzed around the restaurant as patrons shared their thoughts about what they had witnessed, a powerful reminder that even in small moments, lessons could resonate far beyond individual encounters. Throughout the remainder of her shift, Maria found herself reflecting on the broader implications of what had transpired. She considered how cultural sensitivity often hinges on awareness, an awareness that can be ignited through personal experiences like hers. Each time someone chose kindness over condescension or understanding over judgment, they contributed to a more inclusive environment. That evening, as she finished cleaning up and prepared to leave work, Maria felt invigorated by the day's events. She had navigated a difficult situation with poise and confidence, qualities that she knew would serve her well not just in her job but in life as a whole. The lessons learned from this experience extended far beyond the restaurant walls. They echoed within her heart as reminders of resilience and empowerment. Maria understood that every interaction presented an opportunity. She resolved to approach future encounters, both personal and professional, with an open mind and an unwavering commitment to respect. As she walked home under the warm glow of streetlights illuminating her path, Maria felt a spark of hope for the world around her. She envisioned a future where people recognized each other's capabilities rather than relying on preconceived notions shaped by stereotypes. More than anything else, she realized that empowerment is not just about asserting oneself in challenging situations. It is also about fostering understanding through compassion and empathy, a cycle that begins with each individual willing to confront their biases and embrace diversity. In reflecting on this pivotal day at work, Maria found solace in knowing that while challenges would inevitably arise again in various forms, she possessed a newfound strength rooted in self-awareness and kindness. The tourists may have walked away with lessons of their own, but so too did she, lessons that reminded her of the power inherent within every person to effect change. With each step toward home, Maria carried forward not only her pride as a Filipina waitress, but also an enduring commitment to bridge gaps between cultures through respect and understanding, a mission she embraced wholeheartedly. As Maria walked home that evening, she reflected on the day's events and the profound impact of language as a tool for connection and understanding. Her encounter with the rude tourists had started as a moment of conflict, but had transformed into an opportunity for dialogue, learning, and growth. It reminded her that language is not merely a means of communication. It serves as a bridge between cultures, fostering relationships that can transcend differences. Language carries with it the weight of history, culture, and identity. For Maria, English was more than just a skill. It represented years of education, dedication, and the desire to connect with others. Through her fluency, she had been able to express herself clearly and confidently, qualities that challenged the stereotypes held by those who underestimated her based solely on her job title or nationality. This incident highlighted how powerful language can be in dismantling misunderstandings and biases. The tourists' initial rudeness stemmed from preconceived notions about Filipinos and their proficiency in English. They had arrived with expectations shaped by stereotypes, assuming that their status as travelers elevated them above those they encountered. However, Maria's response, her calm demeanor paired with her perfect command of the language, served as a stark reminder that intelligence and capability are not determined by one's profession or background. Rather, they are inherent qualities found in individuals everywhere. What unfolded at the restaurant was not just about Maria asserting herself. It illustrated the broader implications of challenging biases in our daily interactions. Each time someone encounters another person from a different culture, there is an opportunity to break down barriers through respectful dialogue. When we approach others with an open mind, we foster connections that enrich our lives and broaden our understanding of the world around us. Maria felt a sense of empowerment in having turned a potentially negative experience into a moment of education for both herself and the tourists. Their apologies marked an important step toward acknowledging their biases, a realization that could lead to more meaningful interactions in their future travels. It served as a reminder that change often begins with one courageous individual willing to confront ignorance and assert their worth. In reflecting on this experience, Maria recognized that fostering cultural sensitivity requires ongoing effort from all parties involved. Language plays a crucial role in this endeavor. It allows us to share our stories, traditions, and perspectives while helping us appreciate the richness of diversity. By engaging with others authentically, rather than relying on stereotypes, we create a space for understanding where empathy can flourish. Furthermore, the significance of language extends beyond mere words. It encompasses tone, body language, and intent. When we communicate respectfully and genuinely, we convey our recognition of others' humanity, a fundamental aspect often overlooked in cross-cultural interactions. Maria's ability to respond thoughtfully to the tourists demonstrated how kindness and patience can lead to transformative moments. As she continued her walk home under the soft glow of streetlights, Maria felt hopeful about the potential for growth within herself and others. She envisioned a world where people approach one another with curiosity rather than judgment, where conversations become bridges built on mutual respect and understanding. In an increasingly interconnected world, fostering meaningful interactions across cultures is more essential than ever. The lessons learned from her day at work resonated deeply within her. True connection emerges when we challenge our assumptions and engage with others openly. Each encounter holds the potential for enlightenment if we choose to embrace it. Maria understood that while biases may be deeply ingrained, they are not insurmountable barriers. Through courage and compassion, individuals can confront stereotypes head-on, creating ripples of change that extend far beyond individual interactions. Every step taken toward challenging biases can contribute to a larger movement toward inclusivity and respect for all cultures. In closing her thoughts on this day filled with unexpected revelations, Maria reaffirmed her commitment to championing understanding through language and kindness. She embraced her role not only as a waitress, but also as an ambassador for her culture, a reminder that everyone deserves respect regardless of their background or profession. The power of language lies not only in its ability to facilitate communication, but also in its potential to unite diverse communities through shared experiences. By fostering empathy through dialogue, we pave the way for deeper connections, transforming misunderstandings into opportunities for growth that enhance our collective humanity. As she arrived home, Maria carried forward both pride in her heritage and hope for a future where every interaction becomes an opportunity for connection, a world where respect prevails over prejudice and love triumphs over ignorance.